Did you know that when a woman's name was replaced with a man's name on a resume, evaluators were 60% more likely to say they would hire the applicant? And this is not all. In a study of performance reviews published by the Journal of Applied Psychology, researchers found that men who stayed late to help prepare for a meeting received a 14% increase in their rating. What increase did women get when they stayed late to help? The answer is no increase at all. Could unconscious bias be at play? Hi, I am Louisa Drescher, President and CEO of Mastering Cultural Differences, and a DEI and cultural competence development expert. I work with HR executives and other leaders so they can understand and work well across differences. My goal is to help organizations create more diverse and truly inclusive environments. As a consultant and trainer with over 20 years of experience, this is an area I am truly passionate about and why I think it is so important to shed some light on these topics. In this last video of the Gender Bias series, I will share some specific workplace situations, how they impact women, and what you can do about it. Here's the first situation. Imagine you are in a meeting and a woman colleague is spoken over or interrupted. This type of behavior is rooted in attribution bias. In other words, certain individuals are given less credit because of their identities. Research shows that women's contributions are valued less than men's. Because of that, women, in particular women of color, they tend to be interrupted more and get less time to speak than men do. This is a problem because if women's ideas are not heard, it can be harder for them to be perceived as key contributors, which can harm their career progression. Here's something that you can do in situations like this. Speak up. You can say something like, I would like to hear the rest of Jane's thoughts. Or, Jane raised an important point. I would like to consider it further before we move on. If you are leading a meeting, you can reduce interruptions by asking people to contribute in a structured way. For example, you can say, let's go around the room and get everyone's ideas. The key is for you to be inclusive. Now, imagine you are on a hiring committee and a colleague rules out a woman of color because she's not a good culture fit. This is a typical example of affinity bias. As you will recall, we all tend to navigate toward and hire people who remind us of ourselves, which can impact our ability to objectively evaluate who would bring the most to the job. This is a problem because evaluations of culture fit tend to be subjective. They lead us to screen out people who are not like us, which means we can miss qualified candidates and end up with less diverse teams. Not to mention the fact that talented job seekers lose out on opportunities. Here's what you can do. When someone rules out a candidate because of fit, ask them to be more specific. If their thinking boils down to she's different, point out that different can be good. And as a long-term solution, make sure you follow a set of standardized criteria for all hires. This will reduce bias because it will minimize subjective evaluations. Well, this is the last of our three-part series on addressing gender bias in the workplace. I hope these videos gave you some insight into the biases women and other minorities still face. If you would like to receive a free guide with a more complete list of biases and 8 specific strategies that you can use to combat unconscious bias, just send an email to Louisa, and it's Luiza, Louisa at masteringculturaldifferences.com. And I'll put in the subject line gender bias in the workplace, and I'll be more than happy to send you a copy. I'll also include my email in the comments section. And make sure to subscribe to the Mastering Cultural Differences channel. And after you have subscribed, hit the bell icon and switch from occasional to all. This way you will be notified every time I release a video. And remember, differences are never a problem once you master them. Bye for now.